Hi, today on Curtis Orchard Cooking with Kids, I'm here with my grandson Ben. It's a Saturday and we thought, how are we going to spend this day? It's a beautiful day. We thought, hey, why don't we try cooking a few ribs? So we've got pork loin back ribs here. And Ben, do you like ribs?
Oh yeah, I really love ribs. Ribs are delicious.
So our goal today is to get them where they're like brown and tender, falling off the bone. With
and that's the way we're going to get them.
And a nice honey glaze. We're going to use some Curtis Orchard honey today. We're going to use some Curtis Orchard cider because we're going to do applewood smoking in these ribs. First step is I just took 2 slabs here, bought them in the grocery store, and first step is to remove the membrane. And this is a little bit of a challenge if you've never done it before. The way to get it started, I already started this one, but the way to get it started is to work a spoon underneath the edge and then take a paper towel so you can grip it, and then you just kind of pull this thing off. And the reason you want to do that is so that your guests who want to enjoy these ribs so much, they don't have to bite through some tough membrane. So we're going to get rid of that and just toss it over here in our pan of scraps.
And then we're going to get the other one on the other side.
This one has been scored down the middle in the butcher shop. So we will take 1/2 of it off and then the other. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to spend a lot of time with this. But you want to get that tough membrane out of the picture. So we'll get that off. And this kind of helps me grip it. And that's pretty good. That's all gone from there. Now the next thing we're going to do is season it for the smoking stage.
So first I think we're going to put on the pepper,
Go ahead
salt, and some garlic powder.
Ben's going to put a little pepper on here. Just grind it right on. Awesome job.
And
a little bit of salt.
Got the salt.
We use pink salt. You could use regular salt or kosher salt, whatever you want.
And then I think we're going to put on the garlic powder, right?
Yep. Okay,
And
find the garlic powder.
Onion powder.
Careful, not too much.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Do you want a little onion powder? Does that sound good? Okay.
So, start off with... Alright, so then next we're going to do some onion powder.
Okay.
We're going to sprinkle that on, like that. Get it good, and then my grandpa's going to rub it all around so
Give me a little more down here, Ben.
Okay.
Up in here. Okay. Just leave the lid off because we're going to do the other side right after we do this one. Good.
And then we got to put on some garlic powder.
Okay, good. Nice. How did you get this?
And now we're going to put on some regular yellow mustard.
This isn't really for flavor, it's just as a binder for our next layer of seasoning. So go ahead and squirt that, just zip it along there a little bit.
Really nice, fine.
Do this side and we'll spread it in. So we're not worried about the flavor, that's good, of the mustard. We're going to use it
to
hold our spices on there. And
because we got 2 layers, so.
Same thing with the other side. Okay, Ben, next.
Let's put on some, you don't have to do this, but we're going to put on some,
Tajin.
Tajin. It's like, isn't it like a Mexican spice?
A little bit, yeah.
And this is Tajin. It's kind of like a Mexican spice.
But it doesn't have a lot of kick to it, but it's very tasty. So go ahead and sprinkle that all over there, Ben.
That's good.
Keep going. Oh, more than that.
Oh, more than that?
Yeah. Give me more. A little more over here. Good. Okay.
And you can use any kind of mustard for this. You don't have to use just
Next step, let's get the
mustard.
smoke. I want to put
This
a little.
is smoked paprika.
Yeah, go for it.
We're probably gonna put this on for just like a little smoky taste. Oh man, that's really tough.
No, it's not bad.
Oh, it's not?
Nope, perfect. You can't overdo it at this stage. That's one of the beauties of it. And then we're gonna use a little bit of this A1 dry rub because we've been liking that in some of our cooking. So go ahead. That's good.
And
Okay, so that side's good. So now we're gonna flip them over and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start with our pepper.
pepper.
All right, and that's what I'm talking about. That looks beautiful, ready for the grill. But what we're actually going to do for the first step is just put a little smoke onto these and cook them for about 4 hours or so, low temp, between 235 and 250, with a little bit of apple smoke going on there. At Curtis Orchard, it's easy to get apple wood, so apple smoke is no problem, and I'll show you how we did that in a minute. For today, I'm going to kind of convert my grill into a smoker. And what I've done is I've built a small fire here down at the end. And I've done some turkeys this way too, where we're aiming for indirect heat. And I've got a nice, relatively, well, not too big a fire because I don't want too much heat. And we're going to control the heat with the vents. But I've added a few new briquettes right before we put the meat on. And then what I've done over here is I've taken some fresh applewood. This is applewood that we just harvested today. And I just used a hatchet and I cut some chips off of it. And you can see here, I've put my applewood chips in this smoker tray. So what we'll do is place that on the fire. So the question is, how do you get applewood? Well, you can buy the chips in the store, but also we sell applewood here at the orchard. We have aged applewood, which some people prefer. Usually if you're using aged applewood and you chip it, you want to soak it in water because you want the applewood moist. That's why I'm using fresh applewood. That way it's got the moisture inside because I don't want it to just burn up real quick. I want it to create smoke. And the moister the wood, the better the smoke. So we're going to lay this tray right on our fire. We're going to put our grates back in place. And then I'm going to use actually this little fish cooking tray that I use when I'm doing salmon and stuff. And I've coated it in foil, and this is to make a deflector so that the heat does not hit my meat directly. And now we're ready to put our ribs on the grill. So here we're going to lay these on. And what we'll do is check on them pretty regularly and shift positions so that if there is a hot spot, we're kind of spreading it out and putting the different pieces of the meat in the hot spot and the cooler spots so that it gets cooked evenly. But the goal is to cook it really slow and to get some smoke. You can see our smoke is already starting to come up here. Smell that applewood? All right, we're gonna
we gotta
close this down, and I'm gonna close this vent most of the way, and I'm gonna grab my little temperature probe. Okay, I'm going to just put a little thermometer in here, and at this point I'm not putting it in the meat, I'm just putting it in the grill, because as I said, we've converted our grill to kind of a smoker. Normally a smoker would have a little side box where the wood burns and you can control the smoke access a little better than this. So we just want to close that up and keep an eye on our temperature, and we'll check back on this. And so that the meat doesn't get too dry, I've come up with a spray for it, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Okay, it's been about a half hour, so we're going to check on our ribs.
Oh man, they look real
They're
good.
looking nice, looking nice. And we've been running around 250, 260, which honestly I'm a little surprised. I usually can't guess my temperatures that good. Temperature's dropping now that we open the lid because we've got our probe up here. We don't want it in the meat. We're not taking internal temperatures, we're taking smoking temperatures. And I want to give you a little bit of a caution about smoking wood. You notice that I took that tray and I just had it kind of loosely packed with apple chips. You might be wondering, well, you're going to add chips every time you open the lid, and the answer is no. I'm only going to use that many chips because you can over smoke. I found out the hard way one time. I did a pork butt and I figured if a little bit of something is good, a lot ought to be better, and I smoked it really heavily, and ooh, all you could taste was smoke. So I would caution you, I'd say ease your way into smoking if you don't have experience smoking. Start with a little bit of applewood or pecan. We've got cherries and apricots here on the property, so I've used those woods. They're a little more forgiving than applewood. Applewood, if you overdo it, can be a very pungent kind of a smoke. So I wanted just to tell you to take it easy on the smoke, try a little bit to start with, and then find out where your flavor lies. Now we're going to keep these moist by having Ben spray this with a little proprietary blend here of juices. This is a combination of Curtis Orchard apple cider vinegar, orange juice, and pineapple juice. Because we figured, well, you could keep them moist with water, but that's kind of boring. So let's try something a little bit more fun, add a little flavor, a little sweetness to it. So Ben, go ahead and spritz them down real good. Oh, those are smelling so good. I'm gonna grab my
You
phone.
can actually smell that applewood. I don't know if, well, clearly you can. But man, does it smell good with that applewood smoke.
Okay. Keep it there. We're gonna flip them over.
Do the other side.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna trade places a little bit on that heat. These are looking just perfect. Nice and bendy.
You can already see that crispiness coming around on the bones.
All right, give us a little bit of squirt on there, Ben. Oh, these are going to be so good. I can't wait.
One more. There we go.
So you saw how we spiced them before, and we're smoking them now. We've got our spices kind of melding into the meat. And that's why I say don't over smoke it, because what you want to taste is the meat. You want to taste all those spices, and you want the smoke, you want it all in balance. And a little bit later, we're going to show you how to make an awesome, awesome glaze using our Curtis Orchard honey. So it's going to be absolutely drive them wild, crazy good. Okay, so it's been a little over 3 hours, and you can see we've opened it a couple of times. We've used our sauce on there quite a bit, our apple cider vinegar, orange juice, pineapple juice concoction. And we've added charcoal a little bit at a time, and we've kept our temperature right between 225 and about 250. It's creeped up to 260 or so, but we've done pretty good at controlling our temp. So now we're getting ready for the next phase, and I want to show you these. These are just looking absolutely beautiful, fantastic. I think those are perfect. So the next step will be to treat them a little more, wrap them up in foil, and then cook them the rest of the way. So we will show you how we'll do that in just a second. Okay, so all of our smoked applewood is gone, and we've kept our fire pretty small and light. It's got good heat though. We're going to add a little more charcoal to it just to keep it going. It'll be about another hour and a half once we do our next step, and then we're going to glaze it with a special glaze only available at Curtis Orchard. So we'll get this going, and while that's getting reheated a little bit, we will go do the next step of spices. All right, the next step, we're going to wrap these up for cooking, but first we want to put a little butter, brown sugar, and Curtis Orchard honey on these ribs. And then the key will be, we will cook them meat side down, because when we get all this stuff on there, we want it to be able to get that off there. Just kind of sit in the honey and the brown sugar and everything. For the next step, we're going to put a little butter on here. Wipe it real good.
And then.
Okay. Sprinkle a little brown sugar. It's going to be drive your guest just absolutely crazy. And then what do you got, Ben?
I got our Curtis Orchard honey.
Okay.
You can only find it here.
Oh yeah. Put a little bit more on there. A little bit more.
Make it.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Now what we're going to do is wrap this up. And when we put it back on, we'll make sure it's meat side down. We've got it set up so that none of that wonderful butter and brown sugar and honey can escape. So we'll do the same thing with this one. Okay. Then we'll put them on for about another hour and a half.
And then they'll be done, right, Grandpa?
Not quite, Ben. That's a good question. Then we've got a special glaze that we're going to do. And that's using our sweet bourbon glaze from Curtis Orchard.
I actually thought the glaze was going to be this.
Here, Ben. Why don't you...
Should I say?
Okay, so we're going to get these wrapped up and put them back on. And we're going to cook them until they hit around 200 to 202, 203 interior. Okay, so these ribs are done now. We've hit like 202 to 204 in there. You can see those. I could just break these apart easily if I wanted to. But I don't want to. I want to keep them all solid. And our next step will be to take them out of the foil. We'll put them on the grill and we'll do the final basting. You can see here on the back how these bones, I could just pop those right out of there if I wanted to. So we're going to handle them real gently so that we don't break them apart until we're ready. Okay, for this final step, we're going to use some of our Curtis Orchard sweet bourbon glaze. And this will take about 30 minutes to finish it and give it that nice sticky glaze that we want, that barbecue saucy kind of glaze.
And we got it right here.
Yep, we've already done the underside, so Ben's going to mop that on the top side.
I'm just going to show you how it looks.
I'll pour a little for you, and then you can just spread it around. How's that?
Okay.
All right, yeah, we'll just get that on there quick. We're going to let these go another maybe 30 minutes. And I don't have them directly on the grill. Our shed door is open. It's a little windy out here. Look at that. Look at that. That looks so beautiful.
We're just spraying all of that sweetness on it. Because one
Let me
thing
mop this out of here.
is a little sweetness. You know, you want something sweet on your ribs. It just makes it taste good. It's like a meat, but it tastes really good with other sweet products.
And now you can see I've placed it, instead of directly on the grill, I took my little shield that I had coated with foil, pulled the foil off, and this is a little tray with holes in it. That makes the ribs a little easier to carry and move around when we get done with them so that they don't fall apart on us. That's why I have it on that. So we're going to close this up and let that go just a little bit longer till we get a nice finishing glaze on there, and then the best part of all coming. What's that, Ben?
Eating it?
Eating it, buddy. Yeah. So our ribs are finally done, and as you can tell, this has been really a labor of love. It takes pretty much most of the day. It's been about six and a half hours since we started. But here they are. They look beautiful. Had a little mishap trying to get this off the grill in one piece. You can tell it kind of broke apart a little bit, but hey, that's okay. That means they're tender and delicious, I hope. So we can cut them here now.
They clearly cut very easily.
Yeah, they're nice and tender. Look at that.
These are just
The
perfect.
bones are just falling out of there. Look at that. There's one of the bones. So let's take a look at what we got. Just beautiful. Look at that. Looking delicious. Got that little bit of bark glaze color on there. A little caramelized color. Give that one to you, Ben.
Ooh, yep.
Yeah. Now comes the moment of truth. Take a bite, Ben. Let's tell me what you think.
That's perfect, isn't it?
Mmm.
I got a little bone in my mouth.
That's worth all the work.
Uh-huh.
Mmm. Not overly smoked. Just about right. Falling right off the bone, as you can see.
And you can definitely tell this is definitely a perfect grill. It's perfect.
A little tang, a little sweetness to it. Really delicious. Thanks for joining us today on Curtis Orchard's Cooking with Kids. Way to go, Ben. Our first ribs together. What do you think?
Oh, that's good. Really good. This is the best thing I've ever had.
This is the best thing I ever had in my life.